rolling, baby. How's it going, guys? Welcome to the video. We're in the car for this one, and that's kind of fitting, right? You know my car, this car is kind of old, 1989. And that's a pretty nice metaphor for this video. I've actually already filmed this one once already, but it was absolutely shocking. The vibe was off, guys. And the chapter, so that's basically this. So we're out here in the car. If balding, losing your hair, going bald has really seriously knocked your confidence, maybe in other areas of your life you consider yourself to be like a confident person, but for some reason there's just something about this hair loss, this going bald, that you are really struggling to deal with. Maybe you can't quite put your finger on what that is. You know, you're just not sure. Why is it that this just hair loss, you're finding it so hard to just get over it, just like put it to the back of your mind, just not worry about it so much? Well, I've got some information in this video that I think is gonna really help you. So keep watching. We're gonna find a nice location, and I think I've got some information in this video that is gonna help you better understand why it is so hard for us guys, right? I was there. Why is it so hard for us guys to, when this hair loss thing comes along and it just completely, your self-esteem, your confidence, straight down the pan. I want to keep the energy high in this one, so let's get coffee. Costa Express. Oh, mate. Costa Express. Let's get a large. Thank you very much. Okay, we're in business. Right, let's do this, baby. I'm gonna get a nice little location for us to talk about this stuff. Basically, I've been reading this book, Living an Examined Life. And there's a chapter in there, chapter 3. Let go of the old, and it's just so applicable to what we're going to be talking about here in this video. I want to tell you about a story, okay, that was in this book, and there's a story about a guy, a school teacher, who was put in charge of looking after a prisoner, right? So the guy said, right, we're going to be back in the morning, your job to look after this prisoner dude, sort it out, right? So off the soldiers go, or whatever. And the school teacher says to the prisoner, he's like, listen, mate, I'm gonna give you a choice here. You can look out there into the desert, you can take the freedom of the desert, I'm gonna let you go. Okay, seriously, I'm gonna let you go. If you wanna leave, you can leave. Just go out there, I don't know what's out there, but it's freedom, you go. Or just stay here, mate. You know, stick with the chains, stick in the cell. You can stay here if you want. It's up to you. Basically, like, look, I'm gonna sneak off. I'm just gonna leave the key here and do what you want to do. All right. Only to find that when he was woke up in the morning, school teacher woke up in the morning and went to check on the prisoner. He thought, oh, where is he? He's not here. But lo and behold, the prisoner had chosen the path of incarceration, as it's written in the book. And he chose the familiarity and not the open wonder, the freedom of the desert, right? And that story really kind of signifies quite nicely what we're going to be talking about more in this video when we eventually get to where we want to go. I've got to think about how I'm going to get there. Right, I know. Seen a sign for it, mate. The prisoner guy was like, well, I don't know what's out there, do I? I don't know what's out there in the desert. I don't know it's new, it's unfamiliar. Whereas he knew what was going on with the prison, with the chains, you know? Yeah, okay, it was a miserable existence, but it was familiar to him. He knew it, so there was comfort in that, so he stuck with it. And I think from that little story, you're gonna know a bit more about what we're gonna be talking about here in this video. Oh, let's do this. So we're here at a lovely little spot in the New Forest. We're gonna head up there. If you're a follower of the channel, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I used to do a lot. When things got deep, guys, when things got heavy, I used to go up onto the rooftop for the rooftop chats. We're up here on the roof today, and if you are a follower of the channel for a while, you know that when we get up here on the roof, things are gonna get a little bit deep. I mean, it's not rooftop, but it's a pretty decent effort. Oh, very poor. This is so dumb. Oh, it's funny, isn't it? It's fun, isn't it? Try it, give it a whirl. We're about to do this. I'm just gotta enjoy it, man. Enjoy this, being out here. 6 a.m. 6 a.m, guys. No, I had to drop my wife off at work. That looks great over there, though. You've got the sun coming out of the clouds. Don't you love it when the sun comes out of the clouds? I wanna feel real love and love ever after. I think the key, I'm all ballsy here doing this video because there's no one around. But I think the real key when you're doing videos is to be able to do this with other people just knocking around. That's when you know you've made it. So here we are, guys. Right, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video. I told you about that little story on the way. The guy who chose the shackles, he chose the familiarity, right, of the prison cell. This is a symbol of the fact that in all of us lives the frequent choice to remain within the predictable, the safe, the familiar, even that is miserable, thinking it preferable to the uncertainty of the unknown, right? And I just think that sentence alone, whoa, the sun's really come out now, love it. If you're watching this video, right, and you're just not sure what to do, you're thinking about the future with this hair loss like it's a massive negative, right? You're worrying about the future. Either it's how is the hair gonna last, how is it gonna look in 3-5 years from now, or you're thinking, if I go bald, how am I going to look if I've got a bald head? Like, it's going to look terrible. That the unpredictable nature of the future, the unknown, it sends fear running through you. So we'd much rather stay safe, stay in what we know, even if it's making us miserable. And I think that the hair loss industry as a whole, all these things that can help you hide it, cover it up, mask it, try to slow it down, that's why it's such a huge industry, guys. Because it is easier to kind of hold on to the familiarity of that, right? We want to hold on to what we know. We don't want to go into that unknown, that uncomfortable space. But you've heard me say before, guys, if you can, and this is why I love doing these videos, why I love sharing this info as I come across it. If you can go there, if you can get deep, if you can go to that dark, difficult place, it is so difficult to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, why am I so sad about this, right? But if you do it, when you do it, and when you start getting those answers, that's when it's a game changer, right? That is when things change. And that is a huge reason, and I'm going to elaborate on this in a bit, but that's a huge reason why shaving off, why guys feel so good. You see them on the podcast, they shaved it off and they're like, oh man, it's such a relief, because they've been building up that fear of the unknown for so long in their heads. Because there's loads more juiciness in this chapter, right? Let go of the old. As I was reading it, I was really reflecting back on how I felt, and I thought, you know what, that is so true. See how you can relate to it, see how it can apply to your own hair loss situation and how you feel about it. How often do we look back longing for the freedom of our chains rather than stepping into the opening more of uncertainty? Letting go of the old is apparently much more difficult than we think. Why? Well, we all have core emotion-laden ideas within us. Ideas that may or may not be conscious, may or may not be accurate, may not even be ours, but have been part of our formative experience and primal atmosphere. Basically what this is saying, this is talking about our surroundings, right? These ideas that the unknown of baldness, or you're going to look terrible if you're bald, those ideas usually aren't even ours. You've heard it somewhere, or you've seen it portrayed on TV or on a forum or in the comments section or someone like that. And if someone hadn't said those things, you wouldn't be thinking that. But these are the things that form our ideas and build up that fear of the unknown. Now this is coupled with messages from daily life, from popular media, from our family, education, etc. These messages tell us what to do, right? They say avoid this or engage in that. They also instruct us what not to do. Be quiet, hide out, don't reveal what you are feeling. So we're constantly getting these messages, right? These inputs on how we should be behaving, you know, how we should be feeling, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Now we're not born with these messages, but we are sensitive beings in need of reading the world around us to serve our survival, get our needs met as best we can, and to fit in. I've spoken about this before, right? This innate, it's built in us, right? This feeling of don't stand out from the crowd, right? That be part of the group, because then we're accepted, we fit in, and that is literally human nature. It's built in us for our very survival. Of course, now things have evolved, right? We're not going to be the straggler on the edge of the pack being picked off by lions or whatever. You know, it's obviously different now, but we've still got that thing built on us that we want the group of people to accept us, right? So we stay safe, we stay with the known, we stay mainstream in many areas. The nature of our psyche is based on change, growth, curiosity, and imagination. But there are very conservative elements within us to retain a commitment to the known, the familiar, even when it is based on constrictive perspectives. So letting go of the old is not easy and requires being able to tolerate the aroused level of anxiety that arises when ego consciousness is not in control. Now bear with me guys, a lot of psyche, ego consciousness. And when I was reading this the first time I thought, ooh, it's a bit, whoa, you know, a bit crazy, a bit, ooh. But this here, look, letting go of the old is not easy. It requires being able to tolerate the aroused level of anxiety. You've seen it in the videos. The guy's there, Jimmy, we had on the podcast recently, he's there with the clippers. And he's, oh, can I do it? Can't I do it? That is that anxiety that he doesn't know. How is it going to look? How are people going to react? And as you're going there, all the crazy thoughts are going through your mind, all the bad things, how it's going to look terrible. No, I'm going to take that with me, don't worry. I'm not even talking about just when you've got the clippers there and you're going to shave it off. It's when it first happens, when you're dealing with it day to day, that hair thinning slowly. You don't know what the future's going to hold, right? You don't know what the future is going to hold for you and your hair. And basically, you think the worst, and that, just the unknown element of it, letting go of what was old, that is a massive reason why I struggled with it, and probably why you are having a difficult time with losing your hair as well. And that is why, guys, those treatments, those things are so attractive. They market them, you know, like, hey, get this back, you know, get the you back, be yourself again, like get that hair that you once had back again. It's just like natural for us to be so drawn towards that. That's what you want, that deep desire to like hold on to what you know, what you're familiar with. So this is letting go of the old. It requires that we let go of what we thought was certain. But the more we resist change, the more we are allied against the nature of our nature. Okay, so it's actually kind of unnatural. The more we resist it, the worse those feelings get. So I love that. Requires we let go of what was certain, right? But the thing is with balding is nothing's certain, right? Nothing's certain, especially when you're using the different treatments and that. Nothing is certain. None of it is surefire, like, oh, I'm just going to use this now for the rest of my life and it's going to keep my hair perfect. You can never be certain of that. One obvious but perhaps unconscious example of this resistance is found in our culture's obsession and denial of aging and mortality. The natural evolving process within our body. How many times have people hung on to their youth, resisted growth and graceful accommodation with nature, naturing within them? Guys, this is a key example of something I talk about on the channel, right? I'm like, when you go through hair loss and when you accept it and when you shave it off, you go to that place, when you do all that stuff, it is like an absolute epic snowball down the hill of growth, right? Because you've dealt with one thing, you've moved past it, and that frees up so much energy, so much more mental space for you to be like, right, sorted this out, I feel brilliant, what's next? What else have I been hanging on to? What else aren't I moving forward with? And that is one of the best things I love about all of this, about the whole experience. I've said, even if you're young, old, doesn't matter how old you are, right? Losing your hair, dealing with it. It's actually more the process of dealing with that adversity, dealing with successfully with those negative emotions. Okay, so much growth comes from that, and that is one of the best things about it. Here we go. Attachment and loss is the human story. So think about relationships. Friends come in, attachment, friends go. You move places, you lose them. Loved ones, family members, okay? It's all about attachment and loss, the human story. We lose parts of ourselves as we adapt to the demands of the world. I cannot number those whom I have seen were still hanging on to their earlier image of themselves. Moments of weakness, self-betrayal, failure, who sustain their attachment to an earlier self-image rather than learn from it and move on. Now, when I read this the first time, I was like, all right, mate, like relax a bit. Like it's tough, you know, and but it's true. But there is some real truth in here, right? Again, it goes back to the first things. We hold on to that familiarity of what we know, even if it's painful, even if we don't enjoy it. But because we know it, we stick with it rather than going out into the difficult thing of the unknown. I hope this next part here as well, you can begin to sort of feel better about it. Like I said, if you can understand, like, why is this so hard for me? I don't get it. I think this is a key part here. Letting go of the old is infinitely more difficult than we think. We cling to our history with tenacity because to think of ourselves in other ways is either intimidating or unimaginable, right? And I think that part there can really sum this up perfectly. Guys, give yourself a break, right? Quite honestly, just give yourselves a bit of a break. At some point you need to stop beating yourself up about the fact that this is really affecting you the way it is, right? I remember sending a message to my dad and I could not send the message. I wanted to say, like, I am really struggling. Even now, it's like, do you know what I mean? Oh, man. I think it's because I'm probably overthinking it, right? But I think it's because I know how much of a struggle it can be to deal with losing your hair for a guy. And we just don't, like, we just don't talk about it, do we? And so you just end up beating yourself up about it internally, you know? And that's why I fucking do this, mate. That's why I do these videos. Listen, I remember being there with my phone, preparing to send my dad a message to be like, what I wanted to say was, I don't know what to do about this, my hair falling out, and it's making me really sad. And I remember, you know, it being in tears over it, and then thinking to myself, like, what are you doing? You know, I'd like hate myself for it. Not hate myself, but I'd be like, mate, honestly, I'd be like, stop being a bitch about it. But that didn't help, you know, like beating myself up about it, and like, it obviously didn't help. But I remember I wanted to send a message, and honestly, like asking for help. You know, just asking, like, listen, I don't know what to do about this. I feel really sad about it. And I just remember that was a big thing. I just felt so sad about it. Like, why? Why me? Like, why is this happening? In the end, I bottled it, right? I just sent him a message like, oh, how did you deal with it? Or like, what did you do about your hair falling out? And he obviously just gave me like a little, like, I just had to deal with it, mate. Like, that's all you can do. But I remember, I don't know why I started talking about that. But anyway, I remember that feeling, right? And I remember feeling pathetic. I felt pathetic that I was letting it get to me that much. But please just like understand that it is a very difficult thing for all people, and especially for guys. You know, this is one that we can all relate to, is having to let go of that previous image of ourselves. You know, things like that don't last forever. This is holding on to your youth. We get older, guys. We get older, we get wiser. But with that comes growth, the opportunity to grow from it, the opportunity to learn from it and benefit from the experience. But if we try to cling on to it so much, the image of ourselves, the hair, all things in the past, right? The more you try to hold on to it, even if it's miserable, hurting us, you cannot learn from it, you cannot grow from it. You're just gonna stay stuck there, and that's not gonna benefit anyone. It finishes off with almost like an answer, right? Almost like an answer of how to kind of deal with it, and something that can help you let go of the old. It talks about normal sort of medicine in psychiatry, and how sometimes, you know, it looks to work around the issues, right? Kind of dodge around them and not really attack them head on. It says here, that sun though, feels good. I'm so pumped for this, mate. It's freaking brilliant. Okay, to sum up, guys, it says here that actually those feelings of sadness, it says here of depression, those troubling dreams, those troubling thoughts, that's your soul protesting against the worry, right? It yearns for more. It knows that there's something more out there. And it says what to do with this, right? What to do with these feelings. It says modern psychiatry and psychotherapy prefer to work around these protests, but actually it's better to ask, why have you come? What is it you are protesting? What is the desire of the soul? AKA, what do you really want? Is it perfect hair that you really want? Or is it just to feel good about yourself? Like, get back to feeling confident, feeling happy. These questions of like, okay, why do I feel like this? What is it that I really want? They don't, you know, skirt around the issue. They don't medicate the issue into numbness, it says here. It says, but rather they approach the soul with dignity and ask, as we might ask any stranger who knocks at our door, why have you come? What do you want? And how can we sort this out? Only with this sort of dialogue can we really begin to leave the old behind. Just as we periodically clean the house, go through old clothes and fashions, so we have to go through our accumulated histories, our driving attitudes, reflexes and responses, and discard what is no longer productive, relevant, or serving growth. So I say this, the hair situation, right? Is it moving you forward? Is it serving you growth? It's likely that you're having a tough time letting go of that old self-image of yourself, that familiar look, that familiar style, and how you kind of used to feel. As the things in this video have described, it is very, very difficult to do that, to let go of it. And so the main takeaway from this video is I just hope that knowing that and understanding like why you are having a tough time with it, and it's because it's a difficult thing for all people to do, no matter what the issue, but obviously I've kind of linked it with the hair loss thing. I hope that knowing that and having a better understanding can kind of get you to have that internal dialogue with yourself. Think about it a bit more clearly, and I think once you kind of remove those distractions, get out of that space of like the unknown, the fear, the worry, you can begin to kind of have that conversation with yourself. You can be much better equipped to deal with it, and you absolutely can move forward with it. Discard the old, guys. Look forward to the new. Look forward to the future. Get back to growing in all sorts of areas, and honestly, be excited about it, right? It's tough to do, but once you do it, guys, once you do it, it's honestly like nothing else. You know, it really is the you 2.0 as we just so describe. Pastures new things. There's cows fighting over there. Guys, I know I did a lot of talking in this video, but I just hope that the information I've shared in this video, the kind of words, you can apply it to your own sort of story, your own experience with hair loss. I hope it can bring a bit of clarity to you, a bit of clarity to the situation, and like I said, with that clarity, you can be better equipped to deal with the hair loss, put it past you once and for all, let go of the old, right? That was a good time, right? The hair was good, that was a good look, you had success with it. Just as you had success with it with that time, that was then. You can draw a line in it, look forward to the future, new successes, new growth, a new you, right? But you cannot do that if you're constantly clinging on to the old, wishing it was something else. You're worth a lot more than that, guys. Give yourself a break with it all. You've got this. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know how you feel about this, what I spoke about. I'll put a link to that book down in the description box if you want to read it for yourself in whole. I just took the main parts out of that one chapter. Guys, I gotta thank you so much again for watching this video, and I will see you in that next one. Goodbye.